Imagine a compound that can force your body to burn up to like 18% more energy.
Right.
Like you don't have to spend an extra second on a treadmill. Your body temperature doesn't spike. You don't suddenly break into a feverish sweat or anything.
Yeah.
The energy just vanishes.
It's wild.
It really is.
Okay.
And if you're listening to this, you've probably seen, we've all seen the before and after photos on social media of the current weight loss craze.
Oh, yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
You might even be suffering from a little bit of fatigue just hearing about it constantly.
Understandably so.
Right, understandable. But today, we are looking at a molecule that is doing exactly what I just described. And it might just dethrone the kings of the current market. So, okay, let's unpack this. What exactly is this compound that has a medical community holding its breath right now?
Well, it really is a massive shift in perspective. Over the last few years, the entire medical and cultural conversation around metabolic health has been dominated by a very specific class of drugs.
Right, the GLP-1s.
Exactly. We see the headlines about Ozempic and Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy literally everywhere.
Yeah, you can't escape them.
No, you can't. And they have completely monopolized our approach to treating obesity, which is good in a way because it moved the narrative away from, a lack of willpower and into the realm of endocrinology.
Right. Taking the moral failing aspect out of it.
Exactly. But they also monopolized the method of how we lose weight. It feels like everyone in the pharmaceutical industry is digging for gold using the exact same shovel.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Same shovel for sure.
And so today's deep dive is based on this really extensive stack of research, and it's anchored by a very comprehensive report from the NewzFeaturez Lifestyle Healthdesk.
Yeah, spearheaded by a researcher named Mr. Raven.
Right. And this report claims there is a new challenger on the horizon.
And so our mission today for this deep dive is to sort of cut through the relentless pharmaceutical marketing hype, because there's a lot of it.
Oh, so much.
We want to understand exactly what this new molecule is, the biology of how it operates, and whether it actually deserves to be called, the next Ozempic.
Right, because to understand the future of metabolic health here, we really have to look past those current leaders.
The current kings.
Yeah, the current kings. So the compound highlighted in the NewzFeaturez report goes by the abbreviation TOFA.
TOFA, okay.
Yeah, TOFA. And that stands for 5-tetradecyloxy-2-furoic acid.
Oh, wow. I can absolutely see why they stick with the acronym. I'm not even going to attempt to repeat that chemical name.
Yeah, well, the scientific nomenclature is definitely a mouthful. But the reason TOFA is attracting so much intense scrutiny right now is due to a fundamental shift in its mode of action.
Okay.
The current market leaders, they achieve weight loss primarily by making people eat less. TOFA takes a completely different physiological approach.
Okay, so how so?
Well, its action involves the active burning of excess energy that is already stored in the body.
Which sounds incredibly futuristic, right? I mean, when you hear about a molecule that programs your cells to incinerate fat, you assume it was synthesized yesterday in some billion-dollar state-of-the-art laboratory.
Right. Yeah, you'd think so.
But if this compound is going to disrupt our future, we actually need to look backwards, don't we? Because if I'm reading this report correctly, this new breakthrough kid on the block is basically a boomer.
Yeah, it is. What's fascinating here is how scientific research often recycles older, forgotten discoveries when new contexts or new technologies emerge.
Right.
According to the historical data compiled in our source material, TOFA was not discovered last year. It was identified decades ago, back in the 1970s.
Wait, the 1970s? Like, are we talking about the disco era?
The very same, yeah.
That's crazy.
The first established scientific paper on TOFA and its lipid-lowering activity was actually published in the Journal of Medicinal Chemistry in 1977.
Wow, 1977.
Yeah, 1977.
Yeah.
And it was authored by a team of scientists, including R.A. Parker, Takashi Korea, J. Martin Gruzar, and Vladimir Petro. And they were researchers at Richardson Merrill, which was also known as Merrill Research Laboratories.
So wait, why would scientists in 1977 be looking for a weight loss drug? Because, the obesity epidemic wasn't nearly what it is today, right?
Right, exactly. They weren't looking for a blockbuster obesity drug at all. The mindset back then was heavily focused on heart health and cholesterol.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they were conducting this systematic research into chemical scaffolds known as beta-keto esters.
Okay, beta-keto esters.
Which you can think of these simply as just chemical building blocks.
Right, right.
The goal was to manipulate these blocks to invent a compound with hypolipidemic activity.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning a drug that could lower the amount of circulating lipids or, fats floating around in the bloodstream.
To prevent arterial blockages.
Exactly, to prevent blockages, heart attacks, that sort of thing.
And the timeline in the NewzFeaturez report moves pretty quickly from there, actually. Because just 2 years later, in 1979, another study came out by Sylvia A. McCune and Robert A. Harris. And they were the ones who shifted from asking, what does this do, to how is it doing this?
Exactly.
And the report specifically notes that the physical TOFA used in their experiments was supplied directly by a Dr. Alfred Richardson, Jr. of Merrill National Laboratories.
Right, so effectively, Dr. Richardson and his team are the creators of TOFA.
Okay, so it's this classic story of foundational scientific groundwork.
Yeah, you have these researchers in the late 70s meticulously synthesizing these chemical structures. They map out the basics of how it interacts with the body. They publish their findings in reputable journals, and then it just kind of sits on a shelf in a metaphorical library of chemical compounds.
Wow. So finding TOFA now is basically like digging a vintage 1970s jacket out of the back of your closet and realizing it's like the exact piece of fashion everyone in 2026 is desperately trying to buy.
Yeah, that analogy hits right at the core of pharmaceutical development. We have vast libraries of molecules that were created to solve one problem, but were set aside because they weren't quite perfect for that specific issue.
Right, they didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, they just sit there waiting for the scientific community to understand how profoundly useful they could be in a completely different modern context.
Okay, which brings us to why a compound from 1977 is suddenly the hottest topic in 2026.
Exactly.
If this compound has been sitting around since the 70s, what exactly did researchers see in it recently that everyone else missed?
Let's contrast this with the drugs everyone is currently taking. We have to look at the mechanisms, right?
Right. We need to compare stoking the metabolic furnace versus starving the appetite.
Okay, I like that, the starving versus stoking.
Yeah, so let's look at Ozempic, our current champion. Ozempic, along with Wegovy, utilizes a chief ingredient called semaglutide.
Right.
And this belongs to a class of drugs called GLP-1 receptor agonists.
And we also have Mounjaro and Zepbound in that same conversational orbit, right, which act on both GIP and GLP-1 pathways. Correct. And those pathways are incredibly effective at what they do. But their primary mechanism of action, the way they force the body to drop weight, is heavily reliant on influencing appetite and food intake.
Basically making you not want to eat.
Exactly. These drugs cross the blood-brain barrier and they signal the brain that you are full.
Okay.
Simultaneously, they slow down gastric emptying in the stomach, so food physically stays in your system longer.
Oh, wow.
The end result is a massive reduction in the amount of energy the body takes in. You simply lose the desire to eat.
So you eat less, so you take in fewer calories.
Yeah.
It's entirely focused on the intake side of the equation.
Yeah.
So if you turn off the faucet, the bathtub stops overflowing.
That's a great way to think of it, yeah.
But TOFA approaches the overflowing bathtub entirely differently, right?
It does.
Because the source highlights a breakthrough study that just reignited all this interest. It was conducted by the University of California, Berkeley, and published in the journal Science Advances in August 2026.
Yes. The UC Berkeley researchers discovered that TOFA has a dual mode of action, and it operates entirely on the output and storage side of the metabolic equation.
Not the intake side.
Exactly, not the intake. The older research from the 70s hinted at part of this, showing it acts as an inhibitor of an enzyme called acetyl-CoA carboxylase, which is commonly referred to as ACC.
Acetyl-CoA carboxylase. Let's break that down for the listener really quick. What role does this enzyme normally play in our biology?
Think of ACC as the molecular turnstile that allows raw materials like excess sugars and carbohydrates to pass into your body's fat production facility.
Okay, a turnstile.
Right. When you eat more than you burn, ACC is the mechanism that allows the body to convert that extra energy into new fatty acids for long-term storage.
So it's the gatekeeper.
Yes. And what TOFA does is effectively jam that turnstile.
Oh, it jams it.
It jams it. The raw materials can't get in. Because the enzyme is inhibited, the body literally cannot manufacture new fat.
Okay, so you are locking the door to the fat storage units. You stop the hoarding. But wait, that is the first part of the dual action. But just stopping new fat doesn't necessarily get rid of the old fat, right?
Right, and this brings us to the second mechanism, which is what really caught the scientific community's attention in that Berkeley study.
Okay.
The researchers found that simultaneously TOFA activates biological pathways involving PPA alpha and PPAR delta.
PPAR alpha and PPAR delta. feel like we need another analogy here. What are these PPR receptors doing?
You can visualize these PPR receptors as the cellular managers inside your body's tissue.
Okay, cellular managers.
Under normal circumstances, they monitor energy levels. When TOFA activates them, it sends a high-priority message to these managers, instructing the cells to actively pull in circulating fat and burn it in their mitochondria to keep the lights on.
Wow. So you jam the turnstile so no new fat can be created, and then you call down to the cellular managers and tell them to throw all the existing fat into the incinerator.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are looking at a radical departure from our current pharmacological approach to obesity.
It's completely different.
It is. We are moving from a paradigm of just reducing energy intake, tricking the brain into thinking the body isn't hungry, to actively reprogramming the body to increase its energy output at a cellular level.
And the report specifically mentions that while it is burning this fat, it ensures excellence in the maintenance of muscle mass.
Yes.
That is a huge differentiator. Because, anyone who has followed the Ozempic craze knows about the concerns over muscle loss.
No, absolutely. The muscle wasting is a big concern.
Yeah, if you just starve the body, it eats its own muscle tissue along with the fat. But TOFA seems to be directing the burn specifically at the lipid stores.
Right. Retaining lean muscle mass while rapidly losing weight is, it's the holy grail of metabolic medicine.
Right.
Muscle is highly metabolically active tissue. It helps you burn calories even when you are resting. By preserving the muscle and targeting the fat, TOFA is restructuring the body's composition in a much healthier way than simple starvation would.
Yeah, this brings me to a statistic in this deep dive that I just can't shake. The Berkeley researchers tested this dual action mechanism on obese mice.
Yes.
And they found that by administering TOFA, energy expenditure in these animal models increased by up to 18%. 18%
is an astronomical jump in the baseline metabolic rate.
It's massive.
Yeah.
If my baseline metabolism suddenly spiked by almost a fifth, I'd expect to be sprinting around the room or sweating profusely.
Right.
How does a body handle that much internal activity? The cells must just be doing their biological chores in overdrive, right? Just scrubbing the cellular floors and burning calories to do it.
Yeah, it shows the sheer volume of energy required to run these metabolic pathways when they are fully activated.
Wow.
The physical weight loss in the animal models was incredibly impressive because of this continuous underlying cellular work. But the source material makes it clear that medical professionals are watching this closely for reasons that go far beyond just the number on a scale.
Right. I want to dig into those systemic benefits, actually. If you clear out the fat, what happens to the rest of the body's infrastructure?
Well, the UC Berkeley study measured comprehensive systemic metabolic health, and they found that by administering TOFA, insulin sensitivity improved dramatically.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the mice had much better glucose control, their triglyceride levels dropped, and they even saw improvements in aspects of fatty liver disease.
That makes perfect biological sense, though, doesn't it? If you were jamming the turnstile to stop new fatty acids from forming and, forcing the cellular managers to burn up the existing fat, you are clearing out the biological traffic jams.
Exactly.
Because insulin resistance and fatty liver are often symptoms of a system overwhelmed by excess lipid storage.
You are addressing the underlying metabolic dysfunction at its root rather than just treating the symptom of excess weight.
Right.
Drugs like Ozempic also improve blood glucose control, which is why semaglutide originated as a diabetes medication.
Right.
But TOFA appears to accomplish this through a very direct lipid clearing mechanism inside the cells themselves.
And here's where it gets really interesting to me. The NewzFeaturez expert, Mr. Raven, he points out a potential future that isn't a zero-sum game.
Right.
He suggests that we shouldn't view this as TOFA arriving to destroy Ozempic. Instead, he floats the idea that TOFA could eventually complement GLP-1 based treatments.
Yeah, the logic there is compelling.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. If you have one medication that effectively manages the intake of calories by controlling your appetite, your GLP-1s,
yes,
and you introduce another medication that maximizes the output and burning of calories at the cellular level, like TOFA, the combination of those two approaches could be the ultimate 1-2 punch for severe obesity and metabolic syndrome.
Okay, I have to push back on that, though.
Sure.
We're taking two massive system-altering metabolic drugs at the exact same time. Because Ozempic is already known for some pretty intense side effects, right? Like severe nausea and gastrointestinal paralysis in some cases.
It is, yeah.
Now we want to add a drug that forces the cells to incinerate fat at an 18% higher rate. Isn't that asking for a biological disaster?
Well,
What does the report actually say about the safety of compounding these effects?
No, this raises an important question, and it is exactly why Mr. Raven issues a very stern reality check in this report.
Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Your skepticism is entirely warranted. The idea of combining them is purely theoretical at this stage.
Okay.
Mr. Raven emphasizes that consumers must avoid falling into the trap of pharmaceutical marketing hype. We cannot confuse a promising research headline with an approved safe medicine.
So as of this 2026 data, TOFA is nowhere near my local pharmacy.
Not even close. It is strictly an experimental metabolic compound.
Right.
The current hype, the incredible fat burning, the 18% energy expenditure, all of that is based on animal models.
The mice.
Specifically those obese mice in the UC Berkeley study, yeah.
And a mouse is not a human.
Obviously. We have cured obesity, cancer, and Alzheimer's in mice countless times over the decades.
Right. We're great at curing mice.
Exactly. But the biological translation from a rodent to a human being is fraught with failure.
Yeah.
Clinical trials and regulatory bodies are the ones who will ultimately determine whether TOFA is safe. We have to see how human physiology reacts. We have to uncover the side effects, and most importantly, we have to see if combining it with something like a GLP-1 causes the exact kind of biological disaster you just mentioned.
Right. And to really drive home just how far TOFA has to go before it becomes a reality, the report gives us a really fascinating look at the economics of the cure.
Yes, the pricing stuff is very eye-opening.
Yeah, they use the Indian pharmaceutical market as a case study to show the massive chasm between an established drug and a research chemical.
So let's look at the established side first.
Okay.
Ozempic is a fully integrated retail medicine in the Indian market as it is globally. It has official pricing structures. The NewzFeaturez table for 2026 shows that the approximate prices in India per week scale with the dosage.
Yeah, I have the numbers right here, actually. So for a baseline 0.25 milligram dose, a patient is paying about 1,415 rupees a week.
Right.
When they move up to 0.5 milligrams, it jumps to 2,025 rupees. And for a full 1 milligram dose, it sits at 2,275 rupees a week.
Which translates to roughly 9,100 rupees a month for a patient on the maintenance dose.
Wow.
That represents a massive multi-million-dollar retail market. It involves established global supply chains, intense marketing, and full regulatory approval.
Now compare that Goliath to the current state of TOFA. Because research on its effectiveness and safety for human weight loss is still in its infancy. It is not an established retail medicine.
Right, at all.
It has not been approved by the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, the CDSCO, as a prescription weight loss drug in India.
No, it hasn't.
Because of that, you can't just go to a pharmacy and ask for the TOFA price.
It exists entirely outside the retail ecosystem. The Healthdesk records indicate that the only way TOFA enters the country currently is as a laboratory reagent.
Just a reagent.
Yeah, it is imported in tiny quantities strictly for scientists to use in controlled research environments.
And the cost difference they found in the records is staggering. Like they tracked down an import record from 2014 for a 50 milligram shipment of TOFA.
Right.
The entire shipment cost a mere 258 rupees.
It's incredible.
Comparing Ozempic's massive retail market at 9,100 rupees a month to a 258 rupee laboratory reagent order is like, I don't know, it's like comparing a luxury sports car sitting on a dealership lot to a napkin sketch of the concept engine.
That's entirely accurate. They aren't even participating in the same reality yet.
Yeah.
The journey from that 258 rupee chemical to a multi-billion-dollar drug is brutal.
Oh, I bet.
It requires years of phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials. It demands thousands of human test subjects, rigorous safety monitoring, and intense scrutiny by regulators like the CDSCO or the FDA.
Right.
The pharmaceutical graveyard is full of cheap reagents that look like miracles in mice but failed in humans.
Yeah, we definitely need to temper our excitement with a healthy dose of scientific patience.
We do.
But looking at the biological mechanism, it's hard not to be optimistic about what this could eventually mean for the future of medicine.
Absolutely.
And the NewzFeaturez report actually ends with a bit of clever wordplay regarding that future.
They do, yeah. The author notes that if TOFA manages to pass all of these rigorous hurdles, if clinical research confirms it is safe and effective in humans, and it finally arrives on the market, it could literally be a TOHFA.
A TOHFA.
Yeah, in Hindi, TOFA means gift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for millions of people struggling with severe weight loss and metabolic diseases, an alternative to the current crop of drugs would truly be a gift.
I love that. It is a great pun, and it perfectly encapsulates why everyone is watching this 1970s chemical make a 2026 comeback.
Definitely.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this all together for everyone listening who might be wondering, how this impacts their understanding of health.
Well, it signals that the era of the single magic pill that relies solely on suppressing your appetite might be evolving into something far more sophisticated.
Okay.
We are looking at a near future where obesity treatment could target the actual machinery of the cell.
Right, the turnstiles and the managers.
Exactly. TOFA represents a promising avenue that fundamentally changes how our bodies handle fat.
By blocking the ACC enzyme.
Right. It stops the production of new fat, and by activating the PPR receptors, it forces cells to consume their existing fat stores, all while preserving muscle.
It just shifts the heavy lifting from the brain, constantly fighting the urge to eat down into the microscopic cellular machinery, forcing the body to actively expend energy.
Exactly.
It's a phenomenal deep dive into a molecule that I guarantee is going to dominate medical headlines in the coming years.
Oh, without a doubt.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I know you had one final thought about that Berkeley study that has been on your mind.
Yes. Well, the biology of weight loss and muscle preservation is fascinating. There is a fundamental mystery buried in that 18% energy expenditure statistic that I really want our listeners to think about.
The massive spike in energy burn in the mice.
Exactly that. We all know the basic laws of thermodynamics from high school physics.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Right, it can only change forms. The UC Berkeley study proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that TOFA forced these obese mice to burn up to 18% more energy.
Yeah.
But the researchers meticulously measured the outputs.
Okay.
They confirmed that this massive energy burn happened without the mice moving around more and without their core body temperature going up.
Wait, meaning there was no extra kinetic energy from movement and no extra thermal energy from heat?
Exactly. If that massive amount of excess burned energy isn't being converted into kinetic movement and it isn't radiating off their bodies as thermal heat,
where does it go?
Where in the world is it going?
Wow.
What hidden mysterious cellular mechanisms might a 50-year-old molecule be unlocking? And more importantly, if human trials succeed and we can harness this mechanism, could this 1970s chemical force us to completely rethink how the mammalian body obeys the laws of physics?